I don't know if my previous video recorded or not, so I'm just gonna say it over again. This is take two. A few months ago we spoke about the Barkan Wine controversy. This is a fascinating development that I just found out about the Barkan Wine controversy. I read an article that Rabbi Yaakov Menken from the Coalition for Jewish Values and from Torah.org, Genesis Project, came out to tell what really happened with this whole Barkan Wine controversy. If you don't remember, back in June, the claim was that those racists at the Eda Haredis refused to allow black Jews to touch their wine, right? Now, for those who don't know, Jewish law, kosher laws when it comes to wine and grape juice are pretty strict. It has to be not only someone who is Jewish, you don't have to be born Jewish, you can convert. There's nothing racist about it, but you have to be Jewish and you have to be Judaism has to actually be a religion, not just your ethnicity. Meaning you have to keep Shabbos, you have to believe in one God, so forth. Keep the mitzvahs to the best of your ability. Major aspect of it is Shabbos. There are different interpretations exactly what that means, keeping Shabbos. Some say public keeping Shabbos, private might not disqualify, whatever it is. But sof kol sof, it's not a racial issue, because like we see someone could be, if there is such a thing, racially Jewish, not really such a thing, and their wine is not kosher, and someone could be, perhaps, if you want to say racially not Jewish, but their religion is Judaism, so then their wine is kosher, meaning, and obviously meaning that they converted properly. Obviously, if your religion is Judaism, you want to follow the religion the way it is. You don't just make it up as you go along. The same thing, as someone was discussing this with me, one of my patients last week was asking me about this, so what difference if someone keeps everything and they just never went to the mikveh? I said, well, the same thing, first of all, you can compare it to two different things, a legal alien in America, or you could compare, someone, they say they're Catholic, but they were never baptized as a Catholic, they can't receive communion, that's how religions work. You don't like religion, but I'm saying we have to go within the rules of the religion. We're discussing the religion. And so too, there's nothing racist about this law. It is simply it's just one of the laws of kosher. Whatever the reasons are, we don't need to get into that right now. But that's how it is. And I saw people when all this was coming, we got to give up this whole idea of kosher wine altogether, saying, these are people who are not even religious at all, and they just they're culturally Jewish, but they're not religiously Jewish, and they oppose the Jewish religion, but that's neither here, that's an extreme case, but there are, within normative Orthodox circles, those who are upset about this, and so that's why I want to come to the defense of the Eda Haredis. But the real crux of this issue is much deeper. So first of all, the whole story wasn't even true. Rabbi Yaakov Menken brings out, this is printed online, you can look it up, whatever, Times of Israel blog, I don't remember where, I got it from Coalition for Jewish Values. It should be noted that Eda Haredis is a very strict, probably the strictest kosher certifying agency in the world, or if not the strictest, one of the strictest. It's up there with the Yisachtos Rabbanim, with in Australia, Adas Yisrael, whatever it is. All the different, every country they have their strict ones. So for in Eretz Yisrael, in the Holy Land, and I specifically say in Eretz Yisrael, not in Israel, in the Holy Land, not in the state of Israel, the Eda Haredis is the highest level of kosher according to most understandings. They're very extremely strict. sometimes above and beyond the letter of the law. It's well known, what I remember well. Meir Brandsdorfer Zecher Tzedek Livracha was a dayan on the Eid Paradis. I remember, seeing him in Yerushalayim when I lived in Yerushalayim, Eretz Kodesh. And Reb Meir Zecher Tzedek Livracha, he was very strict when it came to chickens. He held, for example, most places hold that chickens you don't have to check the lungs, but Reb Meir, he was strict to check the lungs of chickens, above and beyond the letter of the law. But he understood part of it had to do with the issues that were peculiar to Eretz Yisrael, that there were issues with the lungs in chickens in Eretz Yisrael that doesn't happen so often in America. But we're not talking about chickens right now. We're talking about kosher wine. Now, this is not even a super duper strict issue. This is more or less a basic issue of kosher. Now, you want to say, you don't believe in kosher, or you don't believe in kosher wine. Well, you have a different religion. That's fine. That's not what we're talking about now. We're talking within the confines of Orthodox Judaism. And there was even, I don't know, one of the chief rabbis, said this is racist, this and that. I don't know which one it was. I think it was Rav Ovadia Yosef's son. I don't remember which son it is who's the chief rabbi now. It was a chashvi. I'm not putting him down. But what you have to understand is in halacha, in Jewish law, there's such a thing as an independent opinion, a das yachid, that is generally not accepted, or at least not accepted outside of the confines of that particular opinion maker's, student, devotees, his disciples, So Chacham Ovadia had a very lenient view when it came to the Ethiopian Jews, and there are many different types of Ethiopian Jews as well, at least 2 or 3 different types, as far as where they come from and their status of being Jewish and so forth. Rav Ovadia Yosef Zecher Tzedek Livracha was very lenient when it came to them, which I myself relied on that. Particularly, I was Masar Kedushin, and the Chosin was a Sephardi, the Kala was Ethiopian, and so since it's L'shitosam, he's a Sephardi, he follows Chacham Ovadia. So based on that, I know maybe other people might be upset at me about it, but Kachava, and I wasn't going to push that she make a ger l'chumra. I'm not, and she said, she has an uncle who's Orthodox or whatever it is. We're not going to talk about that right now. But I for Lazar, because Chacham Ovadia, listen, we're talking about super duper frum people. It happened to be that this chassan, I went to yeshiva with his brother, or whatever it is. Put that aside. Follow, that's what Chacham Ovadia said. That's it. That's what it is. And there's a reason for that, why he said like that, because he understood among Sephardim there's a certain stigma of gear which there really shouldn't be, and Rav Ovadia didn't believe in that, but he understood what unfortunately there is by the Syrians and so forth. And so that being said, Rav Ovadia, I think he had certain wisdom for his community to be mekel. But that's not for everybody. You can't expect all the rest of the world, all the Ashkenazim, to accept this kula of Rav Ovadia when it's indeed a kula. Maybe it's a chumrah in a different way, to say, that chumrah is that they're Jewish. You can't use it for Shabbos guy. You can't, you can't feed them treif, things like that. Yeah, that's a chumrah. But lakula, as far as yain nesach and things like that, even if the person's from, halacha is halacha. And halacha doesn't care about your feelings, right? It's like Ben Shapiro says, the facts don't care about your feelings. It's the same thing. Jewish law doesn't care about your feelings. That doesn't mean Judaism doesn't care about your feelings. It means that the law doesn't care about your feelings. The law is not always moral. That's another aspect of Jewish law. That's something I was discussing with someone the other day. Not everything that's legal is moral. Sometimes we have to go above and beyond the letter of the law, even though we do what we're supposed to do. So, there are certain things we're allowed to do that maybe we shouldn't do, and that's what we see in last week's parsha, Eishes Sifas Torah. We see, Chazal were very negative about this mitzvah, this type of thing. But wait, it's the same thing and the same thing with the what do you call it? The Ben Surimar, all these different things. We see how Chazal looked at Scripture in a radically different way than the more fundamentalist view would be. Chazal were not fundamentalists. They were thinkers. They were philosophers, but they also followed the letter of the law. Meaning, there's a spirit of the law and the letter of the law, and so. But by the letter of the law, this is how it is. But anyway, the whole thing is a moot point because this is not even a true story. The Eidach Hareidis never singled out the Ethiopians. Rabbi Mencken brings out now. The Eidach Hareidis was saying that the Ethiopians, and they said to everybody, the Eidach Hareidis came in, they're giving a hechsher, they said, everybody who works here, we gotta check your status. Are you a Shomer Shabbos Jew? According to halacha. Doesn't matter if you're born Jewish, you're Ger Tzedek, whatever it is, we just need to know what your status is, or else we can't have you touch the wine until it's mevushal, until it's pasteurized. And apparently it was these who they looked like B'nai Torah, they looked like fine Erlich Eden, nothing. It was these particular workers who were Ethiopians who particularly refused. And we have to ask our question, why did they refuse? But it was not that the Eidach Hareidis did not pick on, the Mashgiach described the whole thing. He interviewed everybody, not just the Ethiopians. It's just the Ethiopians are the ones who didn't want to go along with it. I mean, there's a similar story. I think it was a Slonimer school some years ago, and there were Sephardic girls who were not up to snuff with the rules of the girls' school in a particular community, and they didn't want them in the school, and they'd say, "Oh, you're racist against Sephardim." No, because we have Sephardim in the school who follow the rules of the school, who live up to the standards that this school offers, and we don't have a problem with them. We didn't kick them out. It's not about being Sephardi or Ashkenazi. And so too here, it had nothing to do with being Ethiopian. It had nothing to do with being black or white or purple or anything else. It just had to do with halacha, and halacha doesn't care about your feelings. But my feeling is here, once again, it seems to me that this is an example, because around the same time, an ad campaign came out against the Eidach Hareidis, saying that the Eidach Hareidis supports Peleg Yerushalayim, and so every time you buy something with the hechsher of the Eidach Hareidis, you are supporting someone who is burning Israeli flags or fighting against Tzahal or whatever. And to me, more power to them, because it should be just basic freedom. Here in America, I might not like the idea of burning an American flag, but you have the freedom in America to burn the American flag. You're not going to get arrested for it. Whereas in Israel, they'll throw you in jail for burning their disgusting flag. To me, when I see the Israeli flag, I feel like I see almost like I see the Nazi flag. And the thing is that it comes down to the same things that we're experiencing here in America. Is really very little difference. And you don't see me now. People can look at my other videos. I'm a Hasidic Yid. I have a beard and payas and a black hat. And people don't understand, what is this? You hate the Israeli flag. You hate the state of Israel. And the idea is, I love the Holy Land. I love the Jews who live in the Holy Land, even if they're not religious. I don't hate them. I hate the idea of a Jewish state. I hate the idea of any religious state. We don't need it in this day and age. It doesn't make sense to me, but maybe that's just my American sentiment. I always say, I would not have that much of a problem with Israel if they were like a Jeffersonian, democratic republic with true, authentic libertarian religious freedoms, and not the British way, which it's fine for the Brits, but it's not for the Jews. If England wants to have a Church of England, I don't have a problem with that, because that's England. England has nothing to do with me. I'm American. I'm not English. But if they want to make a state and claim this is the state of the Jews, Judaism happens to be my religion. I happen to be Jewish, but I'm an American. I'm not Israeli. But and for them to claim that somehow they represent me when I don't even live there, and I have nothing to do with them. I'm a proud, American flag waving American. I'm, on certain aspects of my lineage, I'm 4th or 5th generation American. Judaism is my religion, and America is a country that has freedom of religion and lets me practice my religion. And I can wear 2 pairs of tefillin, and I can wear white socks and knickers and a big furry hat, and do whatever I want, as long as I'm not hurting anybody else, and it's not like that. I mean, I'm not saying it's not like that in Israel. Yes, in Israel you can wear 2 pairs of tefillin. Yes, in Israel you can wear a big furry hat. Yes, in Israel, but the thing is the foundation of the state of Israel was trying to eliminate all of that. They just realized they wouldn't have any 2 sticks to rub together if they didn't have some religious background to them. But their purpose is not to support Judaism, it's really to discredit Judaism. All right, were there people like Begin who were supportive of Judaism? Yes. But the problem is, first of all, there's still problems with Begin, even though he was supportive of Judaism. And the same thing, Netanyahu is relatively more pro-Judaism than a lot of the other founders. But the whole concept is against Judaism. Meaning, just because you could ask the same question: what if somebody believes in Jesus, but they keep Torah mitzvahs? It could be a halachic discussion of, well, what exactly do they believe in, this and that? But do they worship him? Do they think he's a Messiah? Do they think he just happens to be a nice guy? Do they think he's a prophet? In classical Judaism, he's nobody. Any respect I have for Christianity is just because Christianity is a great world religion. And so I feel about Jesus the same way I feel about Muhammad or Buddha or anybody else. And I don't hate them, and I don't hate those religions. It's just not my religion, and I disagree with them, and I respectfully disagree with them. There's a lot of good things in these religions, and there's a lot what to gain particularly for the practitioners of those religions, to gain from them. I don't have a problem with that. But it's not mine. It's not my religion. But so too, Zionism is not my religion. And the thing is that if you want to, mix together, there's really not that much. I don't mean to be disrespectful. There's not that much difference between religious Zionism and Orthodox Messianic Judaism. I mean, you have Messianic Jews who keep Torah mitzvahs, who believe that the halachas of Chazal are binding on them, and but they believe that Jesus is the Messiah. They call him Yeshua, whatever they call him. So in a certain sense, they're chutz l'machana because their beliefs are against some basic ideas of Judaism. But on the other hand, if perhaps they're not worshiping Jesus, perhaps they only see him whether as Mashiach or as a manifestation of the Shekhinah. We don't worship the Shekhinah either, or as some manifestation of the spheres or something, which he's not. And it's stupid to believe something like that. But Afal Pichen, it's also stupid to believe that the state of Israel is Reishis Smichas Kulasenu. Just the same. It's the same false messianic complex, whether we're dealing with I don't mean, Jews for Jesus are just regular Christians. But there are these Orthodox Messianics, or whether it's Mashiachis Lubavitch, and again, all of these groups are problematic, but they're still really Me'aker Adin, just as kosher. Just like the followers of Rav Kook, whatever, there's a lot of problems with them. A lot of their ideology comes from Shabtai Tzvi, from other issues. There are a lot of issues with them, but they still count for a minyan. Their wine is still kosher. And really, Me'aker Adin is the same thing. Someone believes, whether they believe Lubavitch Rebbe is Mashiach, or they believe Jesus is Mashiach, or whatever they believe, really me'ikar din, their wine is not really yain nesach. Now there might be stricter groups that will say, Afal Pichen, we don't want someone like that touching our wine. And we're not going to be, I'm not going to be a Rav Machshir. Our hashgacha is not going to allow them to be mashgiach, to allow them, whether it is Bishul Yisrael, whatever it is, or Pas Yisrael, whatever. I mean, we had a case like that in our community. There was a bacher who had some sfekas, really didn't even, wasn't even sure what he believed, but he was born Jewish. He's an Erlich Yid, Shomer Torah mitzvahs, and he had some sfekas about who is this Isa Ish, and one Rav Machshir said, he can't work here anymore. He can't be considered our Shomer Shabbos for the thing. The thing is, it's interesting. A previous Rav Machshir in the same place, I just happened to talk to him about it, and his psak was, no, this bacher is a ben Torah. He's Erlich. He's very frum, and it doesn't mean he's right. He's wrong. He's believing something stupid, but he's kosher. He counts for a minyan and all these things. And I for lazich of that diet, who was a big diet, big Erlich Yid, the Talmud from Samarov, and someone who's Molik Gadish, and he knows Torah, and he knows Psak Halacha, and the thing is, it works the other way too, because like we said, Halacha doesn't care about your feelings, right? So if again, they're Chalukei Deos. Rav Menashe Klein clearly held la halacha, not like this, and Rav Aaron Feldman, Shlita here, clearly it would seem, I don't see what the nafkamin is between Lubavitcher Rebbe and Oisa Ish. La halacha, I don't mean as people, chas v'sholem, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying la halacha, what someone believes, the fact that if someone is under the impression that Oisa Ish was a tzaddik, he wasn't, but if they believe he was, this fact that they're and well, I'm sure he was a tzaddik. I don't think he was Mashiach. I don't think he was even really such a Talmud Chacham that people say he's bigger than me. He's bigger than most rabbis I know. But I'm saying you compare him to Rav Moshe, or Aaron Kotler, to Chazon Ish, to Chvez, to Satmar Rav, to Kloisberger Rav. He was nothing in Torah, but in Sitkis and in Kiruv and in other things. Not everything is being a Talmud Chacham, and that's a really Hasidish idea that the Rebbe is not the Rav, the Rebbe is not the Dayan. Satmar Rav was first and foremost Satmar Rav. He happened to also be a Rebbe who took Fitlach and made a Tish, but his ikr was that he was a Rav, and like they said. Baron Kotler, everyone talking about big Talmud Chacham, and his Rebbitzin said, well, only I knew what a tzaddik he was, and Satmar Rebbitzin also said, only I knew what a tzaddik Satmar Rav was. But the thing is again, everyone thought Satmar Rav was just a Rebbe, was just a tzaddik. They didn't know what a Talmud Chacham he was. But that doesn't matter. Lubavitcher Rebbe was a big tzaddik, but this whole idea, the Nasi Adar and all this, it's silly, and it certainly is chutz l'machna. It borderlines on kfira. It's not actually kfira al pi halacha, because again, like we said, halacha doesn't care about your feelings. So again, if the halacha is that, like Rav Aaron Feldman said about Lubavitcher Rebbe, halacha doesn't care about your feelings, that the same din would apply to Jesus. And so with the modern Orthodox, the religious Zionists who believe a stupid thing that's not only stupid, but it causes shvichas damim, which Lubavitcher's never caused, which and Lamaisa, we talk about how many Jews died in the name of Jesus, but how many Jews have died in the name of Jesus since 1948? 0. How many Jews have died in the name of the state of Israel, in the name of Zionism since 1948? The 20 or 30,000, and when I argue that with someone, they're like, well, they would. You're not a Navi. They could have died some other way. They could have gone into a car accident. I mean, all right, they could have. And if your aunt was your uncle, I mean, are you being ridiculous? Like, you really understand like what it means pekuach nefesh? Yeah, I mean, all right, it's the same thing. You know, we're machmir on pekuach nefesh. You know, that even in the suffix of pekuach nefesh or mechal Shabbos. You know, even the uber shebemeimai were mechal Shabbos. You know, it's a machlekes and halacha, but the Gemara says we don't. The Ramah doesn't actually paskin like that b'zman hazeh because we're not bekiyim of them. Maybe b'zman hazeh now things are better. Perhaps we should paskin like that because the Ramah was talking in his time and not in our time. But the Lamaisa we are mechal Shabbos for a woman who's giving birth. But I'm saying even a woman who died in childbirth and maybe the baby's still alive, and which shows that there's Yeridus Adoros even in scientific issues. If there was such an issue that they could be mavchin that in the time of Chazal, and they were not able to mavchin that in the time of the Ramah, that shows that even in Milad Alma there is Yeridus Adoros, but Be'etzim we're catching up with Milad Alma, we're going up, but the Milad Shmaya, it's hard to say that, although maybe whatever it is. Anyway, but we should, you know, it shows that an embryo, a fetus, is considered life. It's not so pashut the way it is in the Mishnah about saving the mother's life, that you're allowed to make an abortion to save the mother's life. That means abortion is not murder, because we see that with Mechal Shabbos, even to save the uber shebemeimai, to save the the fetus in the mother's womb when the mother's already dead. You know, Mehikra did. Again, the Ramah explains that B'zman hazeh, or in his time, again in our time maybe we have new technology, whatever it is. Let's put that aside. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about this Barkan controversy, and like we said, the whole thing is nonsense. They, you know, like Hoylesiya, there never was such a thing. They never singled out the Ethiopians. They had the same approach both for the born Jews and for the Ethiopians. So, and for the Gerim, wherever else, the Russians, there are plenty of these Russians in Israel. Do we know they're really Jewish al pi halacha? And so the same thing, you know, with these Orthodox Messianics. If we, you know, the fact that they're keeping halacha and and if they're not born Jewish, never underwent any gear, they're not Jewish until they go over a gear. Would the gear be chal with them? Yes, really. It's al pi halacha. Someone asked me that recently. You know, they would have a status maybe of Yisrael Mummer, but that doesn't mean, you know. Now, Erlich Bezdin should try to be careful not to be Megar people like that, but sometimes they slip through the cracks. You can't be. I mean, you can't be postling the gear because of that. Now, and that being said, you know, although maybe it's the Erlich thing for someone who maybe later does tshuva from such a thing, maybe they should do another gear l'chumrah, more for political reasons than for halachic reasons, but there might be some halachic validity as well, and because of their chalukei deos in these issues, that's a reason why, you know, we don't, you know, we're not asking, like, you know, it's these are things you have to ask a paisik, you know, and the thing is, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't hurt to make a gear l'chumrah. What's the big deal? You know, when someone does tshuva from this nonsense, you know. But we should probably make, if we have to do that for Erlich Yidden who believe that Jesus is Mashiach, we should probably have to do the same thing for the religious Zionists when they do tshuva also. That at least they should have to go to mikveh or something, you know, to do tshuva from that fear. I'm not saying that's not the actual halacha. I'm being a little bit extreme, but I'm just saying, really, again, it's like I said, halacha doesn't care about your feelings, and really, if the halacha is like that, there's not a nafkamina between, in halacha, not in their person, between if you're following Jesus or Lubavitcher Rebbe, think he's Mashiach, or Rav Kook or Shlomo Carlebach, or I don't know, whatever it is. I mean, it either is or it isn't. It can't really have it both ways. I know Lubavitchers, they'll say, the Mashiachis Lubavitchers say, well, Oise Ish is Gevena Rasha, so that's not the that's not a reason to what do you call it? That's the nafkamina. Lubavitcher Rebbe was a tzaddik, and Oise Ish was a Rasha. But again, nobody who thinks he's Mashiach thinks he's a Rasha. It all goes in the din of what. Right. So we explain. But he wasn't the tzaddik. That's So, but they're not going to be makabel that. Maybe yes, maybe no. So, but the real issue here with the Barkan Wine is it goes back, because like we were saying before, there was this whole ad campaign against Eidah Chareidis before, just around when this was happening, a little bit before this was happening. I wouldn't be surprised if these mashgichim, if they weren't mashgichim, they were these workers, whatever, were influenced by this thing, this ad campaign, and they decided that that they were that they were just going to try to make the Eidah Chareidis look racist when they really weren't being racist. Maybe these people were like big Zionists, and that was the whole thing. Or even they weren't Zionists. Maybe they were just, Agudists, and they were upset at Peleg Yerushalayim, or I don't know. I don't know the whole story here. The thing is, Peleg Yerushalayim and Eidah Chareidis are two different organizations, but they have similar ideas about, particularly when it comes to the Tzahal. But even their ideas about Zionism aren't on the same. I would say Peleg Yerushalayim is a little bit more pro-Zionist than Eidah Chareidis, but they've made a certain fellowship, and it's a certain thing like Satmar Rebbe from Monroe. The Satmar Rebbe from Brooklyn is more along with the Peleg Yerushalayim. And the Satmar Rebbe from Monroe, he said, this is what it means, Koshem Gerim L'Yisrael, because like the Frisher, what do you say? The Frisher Kanoim, they think they know better, it's like the old Satmar Rav, he said the guys meet Osler and Kanois, there was a story he wanted to meet with someone, a religious Zionist rabbi, something, and some of his students, they were upset at him about it. He said, "You're going to teach me to be a zealot, But don't put that aside. But the fact of the matter is, I think this is the crux of the whole thing, is that because Eidah Chareidis is anti-Zionist, they wanted to try to paint them in a negative light. So, if the Eidah Chareidis is anti-Zionist, we gotta make them look like racist. And it's the same thing we have in America. Because first of all, who are the real racists? The Zionists. The UN Paskin that they're raised. In the 70s, they said Zionism is racism. That was the very same UN that they claim gives them permission to break the Shavuos, because they claim that somehow, even though the Maral says the Heilige Zayt of the Maral is your Zayt tomorrow night, said not like that. Said that it's Yarg Val Yaver not to violate the Shavuos, even if they want to force you to violate the Shavuos. They have no and the Umm Yisraelim have no reshus to give us reshus to violate the Shavuos. All right, you don't want to say like the Maral. All right, Maral had his opinion, different opinions. All right, but the fact of the matter, the real racists are the Zionists, and here the anti-Zionists are the anti-racists by definition, because they're anti-Zionists, right? And yet Zionists want to paint the anti-Zionists, they're the extremists, they're the racists, when the truth is the real extremists and the real racists are the Zionists. and the real people who are trying to get us to get into peace and stuff are the anti-Zionists, right? Like Professor Dahan, the Zionists killed him, because he was trying to make peace with the Arabs, So, he was a tzaddik, an Erlechid, he was so many frogs in the road. Is it raining? What is this? So anyway, more frogs! Did I hit that frog too? I keep hitting the frogs. I don't want to hit the frogs. I like frogs. All right. So many frogs in the road. What's going on? So anyway, is that another frog? No. Anyway, I'm not hitting. No, that one's a bug. That's not a frog. So it's the same thing we have in America, right? Who are the real racists? The Democrats. The Democrats are the party of the KKK. The Democrats are the party of Jim Crow. The Democrats are, even ad hayom hazeh, pretty much putting people into groups, so they'll divide. It's a divide and conquer. Putting them basically in slave quarters. I mean, that's what and they're enslaving them for their votes. Giving them meager rations of welfare and stuff, instead of allowing them to get the success that America comes to offer them. And this maverick, Abraham Lincoln Party, the Republicans. I mean, obviously, the Republicans are the anti-racists. We're the party of Lincoln. We're the party that freed the slaves. We're the party that care about individual rights and not collectivism. And so we don't care if you're black, white, purple, what, right? That's the whole point of the Republican Party. But the Democrats would have you believe the Republicans are the racists and the Democrats are the anti-racists, when the fact, and they say, it changed in the 60s and this and that, which is not even true. LBJ said some very nasty racist remarks when he signed it was all propaganda. He didn't want the civil rights laws. He was a big racist, LBJ. He just wanted to collectivize people into groups. And so that was the whole thing of LBJ. It was the Republicans who pushed. Very few Democrats voted for the equal rights laws, for the civil rights laws. It was, for the most part, it was the Republicans who voted for it, and it just happened to be a Democrat president who signed into law. But his purposes in doing that were rather nefarious. What do you call it? And it's the same thing here. The Democrats are the racists, and they want to say they're not racist and that and this and that, but they are not. What do you call it? But they're claiming that the party that freed the slaves are the racists, right? And it's the same thing. The Zionists are the racists, and they're claiming that the anti-Zionists are the racists, when it's not even true. It's just the same lies. So that's the whole story. It's just lies, and it's the same thing here. Here we have a president whose own daughter is Jewish. But the Democrats, who are the party of the KKK, the party that the Nazis learned racism from historically, and they're the ones calling the one whose own daughter is Jewish a Nazi, and then they'll go and say, well, she's not really Jewish because she converted. Which is, what? Like, she just converted to marry this guy, she's not really Jewish. And like, what? That's not even... who are you? You're not, what do you know about Judaism? Do you even keep Shabbos? She keeps Shabbos. She keeps kosher. Does she keep it perfectly? No, but nobody does. But she keeps pretty much the standard of most people on the Upper West Side. And You know, it's a crazy world we live in where, like we said, the real racists call their opponents who are the anti-racist racist, because that's just how they play. It's just lies. It's just hate and lies. And, you know, we gotta figure out how to fix this, because it's ridiculous. So, I'm not gonna clean this up right now. All right, well, thank you for listening. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. All the best. Take care.